Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. And this is Live Talk. I'm Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Kips Dube.
And tonight on Live Talk, we are going to talk about the state of the country's roads.
To join the discussion, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back.
And as usual, Live Talk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 medium wave frequency and on the 4930, 5940 and 15455 kilohertz shortwave, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
On the internet, you can find us at www.voazimbabwe.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voaindebele.com.
Of course, thanks once again for joining us, and you are listening to Studio 7 Live Talk. And like we have indicated, tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the state of the roads in Zimbabwe.
And I'm sure that you interviewed the Minister of Transport. What did he say?
Indeed, of course, earlier on, shortly before we came on air, we did manage to talk to the Transport Minister, Dr. Obet Mpofu. And of course, I first asked him about the issue. You know, there were actually two accidents, high-profile accidents over the weekend,
yes,
where two senior opposition officials were involved in separate. There were actually four officials,
yes,
in two separate accidents. It's because they are claiming that there was cows that actually strayed into the road. And this caused near fatal accidents. And I first asked him about what the government is doing to erect fences along the country's highways. And this, of course, is his response.
No, we are saddened by the fact that many accidents are caused by stray animals onto our roads. And this has resulted in fatalities as well, that have caused some damage to property as well as injured lives of our citizenry. And as a measure by government to curb this, we have incorporated the erection of fences on all the contracts that are being considered for infrastructural development, especially the road infrastructure development. It is quite a concern, and I agree with the members of the public who have expressed their concern on this, which is a genuine concern. And we are responding to quite a number of suggestions from the members of the public, including patrols by government institutions to ensure that the roads are safe for the traveling, motoring public. But it is of great concern, and funds permitting, we will certainly ensure that any future road development will include fencing of the road.
My good friend, Mr. Kaseke, hailed you as the best transport minister Zimbabwe has ever had. What exactly are you doing? Tell us some of the projects that you have been working on since you became the transport minister.
The attention now is being focused on transport because of what we are doing. You look at the roads that we are working on now, the Plumtree, Bulawayo, Harare, Mutare Road. It is a highway, worth not describing as such because of the rehabilitation that is going on, which is at almost 85%. And look at the airport. Harare Airport Road is just going to be something else in terms of its state-of-the-art nature. Look at the Victoria Falls Airport. We are putting up an airport which will be one of the best in the region. We are developing other airports, smaller airports, Buffalo Range, Kariba, and all those airports that need to be rehabilitated. National Railways of Zimbabwe, yes, we have got a facility from DBSA, which facility will be consummated in the next few weeks, which will see the entire rehabilitation of our railway infrastructure. All these are really big projects which we need support from the general public.
Of course, that was Transport Minister Obet Mupofu talking to us earlier on about the state of the country's infrastructure, particularly the roads. Of course, we also talked about the Masvingo Bight Bridge Road that many Zimbabweans are saying is now a death trap. Of course, we'll bring you that part of the interview later on, but I think people have heard what the minister have said, Gibbs.
Yeah, nxa sikhangela okukhulunywe ngumnumzana uMpofu lapho bekhuluma ngokuthi kule nkomo ezingena emgwaqweni ukuthi inkomo lezi sibili abantu bayakhonona ngokuthi zingena sizinengi njalo abantu abaningi sebelimele ngenxa yalokho. Uphinde wathi-ke kulawa ama-contracts abuyayo uhulumende uzabona ukuthi nxa ukuthi umuntu efuna ukuthi alungise umgwaqo kumele afake khonokho okuthiwa ngama-fences, kumbe ucingo lolwana olufakwa ngapha langapha komgwaqo lube khona. So uthi lokhu kuyenza ukuthi abantu bengalimali ngoba inkomo zabe sezivalelwa. Uphinde wakhuluma ngokuthi lokhu blessing kuyabuya nxa ukuthi kule mali eZimbabwe. Nxa ukuthi ungela mali kuyakhathaza ngoba imali iyophela elungisayo, kodwa uthi hayi bazazama amandla wonke. Uphinde njalo wakhuluma-ke ukuthi bayalungisa iVictoria Falls Airport, basayilolonga sibili khona ngale lapho ngihamba khona izindizamtshina, njalo lakuthi TF bakhangela lokuthi kwaba le rehabilitation ye-railway infrastructure. Lapho-ke ukhuluma ngokuthi-ke uloliwe nxa sikhumbula-ke blessing ungakhangela i-railways kade sikhangele nalokho ekwenzayo kungani vela kuhambelani ngoba nxa ungakhangela lapho kuhamba khona iziporo eziziporo yangena iganga mfowethu ngokutsho kwabantu sibili akulunganga. Ya kunjalo
honguka hama dzadiwa nhasi tinoda kuti tinge tichitarisa nezvemamiriro akaita migwagwa. Munokwanisawo kutaura nezvamuri kuonawo kunjanji uku kurailway sezviri kutaurwawo naGibbs, asi taita hurukuro negurukota rinoona nezvekutakurwa kwezvinhu vaObet Mupofu avo vavimbisa kuti hurumende mumazuva anoteera kana ichipa vanhu macontracts ekuti inge vachigadzira migwagwa ichaonawo kuti paiswawo chirongwa chekuti vange vachigadzira fence, nekuti vanhu vakawanda vari kuchema kuti migwagwa ndo yamatanga emombe dzaakunorara zvadzo mugwagwa, zvokonzera kuti vanhu vange vachipinda munjodzi zvatakaona iko kupera kwevhiki rino iri. Vamwe veMDCT neMDC vakapinda munjodzi dzemumugwagwa usiku mushure mekunge vaona mombe dziri pakati pemugwagwa. Vakawanda vari kuchema nenyaya iyoyi. Toda kunzwa kubva kwamuri vateereri kuti munoti kudii nemamiriro akaita migwagwa, muri kuona zvinhu zviri kuchinja here uye izvi zvamurira kuti zvinge zvichiitwa nehurumende. And I think Gibbs, we have our first two guests lined up. First with Mr. Blessing Chebundo. Mr. Chebundo, of course, was the former chairman of the Transport Committee in Parliament. Mr. Chebundo, good evening.
Good evening to you, Blessing.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Mr. Tabang Nare, who is a social commentator. Mr. Nare, good evening.
Good evening to you, Blessings and Gibbs, and Mr. Chebundo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nare. Gibbs?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nare, again. So I will start with you, Mr. Chebundo. You were in that Parliamentary Transport Committee. Now, what do you think is needed in Zimbabwe to actually revamp the roads and generally the state of the roads? Can you give us your take on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's almost a known challenge that Zimbabwean roads need priority in terms of addressing the risks that are associated with the roads currently. And that when it comes to policy and perhaps the allocations of state funds for addressing issues of infrastructure, the roads need to be given priority, in my view, because of the two major things. One, it is to do with the risks and the loss of life that we are experiencing. We need to protect lives. Secondly, we need to make sure that the roads are in good state to contribute to the recovery of the economy. And one thing that I needed to point out from the onset is that we have neglected the roads as a country. You were talking about the railways. You would recall that in the past, the railways used to transport around 18 million metric tons per year. Currently, we are told that they are transporting bulk goods less than 10 metric tons, million tons per year. And what it does is that it means that we have offloaded the transportation of bulk goods that is supposed to be transported by the railway infrastructure onto the roads. And the roads are not able to sustain that kind of bulk goods. And hence, our roads are being impounded by quite huge trucks that are carrying so much bulk goods, and we are damaging them to the extent that they will continue to suffer that way. And as a country, we are really better off.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chebundo. Now, Mr. Nare, what is your take on the state of the country's roads?
Yes, I think you'd appreciate that, according to our economists, roads are basically the arteries of an economy. Your infrastructure, your roads, your rails, they make things happen. So whether it's agriculture, it's industry, it's tourism, roads facilitate that movement of goods and people. So if your roads are not in a good state, what that means is that the efficiency in terms of delivery is going to be diminished. And that is going to increase the cost of transaction costs, the cost of doing business. So if your roads are better, your communication is better, then it becomes easier to do business. It also becomes more attractive for investors. So we are really 20 years, 30 years behind in terms of the quality of our roads. But having said that, one would also appreciate the progress that has been made on the Mutare highway. Of course, some people would say we spent a lot of money repairing a road. Maybe we should have tried to get more and built a new road altogether. But those are some of the challenges that we find. But at least we must commend the progress that has been made. But what we need to do is to find ways of expediting the process of sorting out the roads.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nare, and also emphasizing the importance of an efficient road network when it comes to doing business. I mean, those are some of the things that gives investors who look at your infrastructure. So if the roads are pothole filled, some are actually saying, some have actually turned into swimming pools. They are not potholes anymore. And some are saying, everyone in Zimbabwe is a PhD, is a pothole dodger.
So it's really hard. It's really hard, Blessing.
It's difficult.
If your roads are bad, then you can't do anything.
You can't do business, of course. And tine muterero wekutanga vamangwiro makadii tiripo taurisa henyu munenge musiri kunyatsonzwika. Munoona sei mamiriro akaita migwagwa?
Migwagwa yedu iyi yotoita sambana angu amakupa makomba. Zvinoita pavaita mepaipai vakuru vedu vaiti tikugadzirisa izvezvi hazvimbopedzi kana hafu yegore tisati tagadzirisa, but asida tiri kuona kana variso vedu vari kuno kumasvingo what don't want hatichatombomuzivi kana kuti ndiani, hatichatombomuzivi kana fesi yake kubva pano uya kuzombokambena kuzovhotegwa haana kana mbozouya. Saka tiri kuchema namarodzi izvezvi havakumbouya kana vanongoti allright tichabuya kusvika nanhasi.
Anogadzira marodzi aya ndiani? Ikanzuro here?
Ikanzuro, but hatiti tinenge tichitaurawo unowatakavhotera kuti ape pressure kukanzuro. Asi wachona watinopa pressure wachona kana ukatongenda kutonoita tichemono kuzati usamira kana kumba kwake hadi kana kuona munhu.
Hanzi
unogona kuti mta kumagrosa wamira kumagrosa anoti ndouya ko ikoko runongovira ukamira ipapo pamagirosa haukumuoni.
asi nzira dzenyu migwagwa haina kumira zvakanaka.
Haichatambofambiki. Saka nebhasikoro chairo harigoni.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru vaMangwiro nekupinda muchirongwa chedu.
Mugare muchitifonerawo ndichitaurawo paLiveTalk ipapo.
Aiwa, not a problem. Chirongwa ndechenyu vaMangwiro. Tikasakufonera imimi tinenge tadya nzimbe. Tinenge tadya basa kana tiri pachiredza apa munonzi wadya nzimbe wadya basa. Tinotenda zvikuru. Of course, Mr. Mangwiro is saying that the state of the roads in Masvingo leaves a lot to be desired, and he's saying their representatives are not doing anything. They are just making promises and promises. And he's also concerned that they only see them when they are campaigning. After the elections, they are gone.
I still remember, Blessing, there was this saying that Masvingo Netara.
Yes, it used
what
to be.
What happened to the Tara?
Oh, it's now pothole filled, and many people are saying, something must be done to fix that road. Not only that road, but many roads across the country. Tina mkoma chinoka kumberengwa makadi. Dzorai volume yeredio yenyu hatizonzwana nenenge yoita maungira. Aiwa, tiripo zvedu. Tipewo pfungwa dzenyu. Dzakamira sei nzira kana kuti migwagwa kumberengwa uko?
Tinotsigira zvataugwa naVaMangwiro kuno hakuna kana bhazi chairo. Takaguma mabhazi kare. Makondo anongotera panofamba ngoro hakusisina kana migwagwa.
Makapedzera kuona mabhazi rini?
Mabhazi ngatoreva nemakati ndakaguma kurewa musi wakati nokuti handichambozivi kuti ndirini. Nguva yarepesi toreka zvokuti ofamba namakombi chete anongotevera panofamba ngoro, migwagwa hakuna zvachose.
Saka kuti musvike kwamunokwirira
hakuna bhazi.
Kuti musvike kwamunokwirira makombi acho mune mafamba nzendo yakareba zvakadii?
Makombi anongotevera panofamba ngoro anosvika kwese kwese makombi arimo. Makombi arimo chaizvo. Uye munosvika tinenge tibva kumberengwa pfuura mataga tichienda kuzvishavane. Unenge wazamisana namabhambi. Nokuti hakuna migwagwa zvachose. Ndakaona kafupi achibata dhirimu muHarare papothole tikaona zvokuti hai unoona kuti chokwadi Zimbabwe yakona kugadzira mugwagwa.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru vachidoka nekupinda muchirongwa chedu. Pedzisai zvenyu.
Kana railways total waste.
Yakamira seiwo?
Mujanji wamapanga chaiwo. Mapanga chacho ndakashanda mujanji kwemakore 9. Asi ndikaona kuti mamiro ataita taibisa tisa dzimwe nedziripo zvinhu zvakasiyana nokure kure. Kana ari marodhi pahighway especially kuVictoria Falls ndanga ndiri kuJuly naAugust. Kubva paairport kuenda kuVictoria Falls vakagadzira zvakanaka zvikuru.
Kwakagadzirwa zvakanaka.
Kwakagadzirwa zvakanaka. Kubva paairport uchiuya kuna naHwange uko vakuda matourist kuti abve paairport achienda mutaundi ofungudza kuti nyika yese yakadaro asi zvineri izvo ndatenda hangu.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru vachinoko kumberengwa uko.
Yes.
Of course, Mr. Chinoko is saying, there are some parts that are fixed, like from the airport to the city in Victoria Falls. He's saying maybe that is to attract tourists. But some of the roads, he's saying, they are really bad, and it has affected them because buses, bus operators are not willing to ply that route simply because the roads are so bad, and it will be very expensive to maintain the roads. Gibbs.
Baba nare singakai uchebundu lapho sike sithi cha ngesintu mbijana. Kwenziwa yini ukuthi khonapho ubaba bekhuluma ukuthi kuyalungiswa okusiqanyana nje kwendlela ukuthi kuyefika lese eVictoria Falls Airport kusiya elokishini emalokishini athize khonapho. Kubese kuthiwa ngapha phela ngemaphandleni lendaweni eziningi. Kambe kwenzelwani khonokho? Njalo kuvela inhloso kuyini?
Ngiyabonga Keith. Esikhathini esedlule nje I think kulomnyaka nxa kwasomnyaka emibili i-African Development Bank yakhipha i-report ngeZimbabwe eyayikhangele infrastructure. Bastata nje babhodile lonke bakhangela imigwaqo bakhangela i-railway bakhangela kwendizamtshina basebesitsho ukuthi kufuneka imali engange 14 billion US dollars ukuthi imigwaqo ilungiswe ibe mihle, at least abantu bebe lakho ukuthi behambe kuhle elizweni. So okufunakalayo yi-infrastructure master plan ukuthi njengelizwe laseZimbabwe imigwaqo sayilungisa silungisela econnecta amadolobho yileyi, imigwaqo sayilungisa silungisela abantu abasemakhaya lasezabelweni yileyi. So singaba layo leyo plan sibe siqalisa ukuthi sesiqalisile kuyisebenza kuzasithatha iminyaka emihlanu kuzasithatha iminyaka beni elithumi sibe sikwazi ukuthi lo nyaka sesiyakhele imigwaqo unyaka olandelayo sesiyakhele umgwaqo. Yikho ukuthi abantu beZimbabwe endaweni ezitshiyeneyo besuthiseke ukuthi hayi uhulumende uyakwenza ngabe kungakafiki kwesami isabelo but kuyafika kimi njalo kuyanceda khonokho ngenxa yokuthi nxa sikhangela indaba yeGoli lapha abakha khona umgwaqo izakhamuzi zagcina sezikhonona le e-tolling ukuthi abantu bengavele bebekwazi ukuthi bazabhadala malini ukuthi bebe lemigwaqo emihle njalo bazasibhadala isikweletu sangikhona okweminyaka emingaki. Abantu balakho ukuthi bezicommit bezimisele besithathe leso sikweletu njengelizwe. But singalungisa imigwaqo singakwazi kuzaba imalini singakwazi izalunga nini uyadanga umoya khona kuyana uyadiscourage abantu.
Yes, yawuzwa kakhulu ke mnumzana Tabangnare ubambe ungakatshana sibili. What Mr. Nare was saying is that the African Development Bank once conducted a study and indications was that Zimbabwe needs roughly about $14 billion to actually tackle its infrastructural problems. So he says what is needed really is perhaps to have an infrastructure master plan in Zimbabwe so that it will be known that in rural areas we are going to have certain roads and in urban areas we are going to have specific roads to actually tackle so that there are feeder roads and main roads. So I think that those are some of the best plans you can ever have.
Indeed, that's very true. You need proper planning, Gibbs. Remember, they say if you aim at nothing, you will hit it.
That's it.
So I think people need to plan accordingly. We have some messages on WhatsApp. Let's read some of the messages that we have. First, we have Silent, who says, yes, it's true, our roads are causing a lot of these carnages. There is a great need for the government to put more resources on this important part of the economy. Even investors will look at the state of the roads when deciding on investing, but it seems the government is turning a blind eye on the roads. Lazarus says, yes, that's very true. Our roads are in a very bad state, and the government is taking time to fix this problem. And then we have Elias, who says poor roads contribute a lot to the accidents that we have seen. And then we have Enos, who says roads are in a perilous state, but motorists are paying excessive toll fees. Clyde says, we used to have fences along the highways so that cattle and donkeys don't stray onto the roads. And nobody can explain what happened to those fences. Forrest says, I think it's true. The national roads are now dangerous. I don't know why the minister is ignoring that. Charles says, the state of our roads in Zimbabwe leaves a lot to be desired and seriously embarrasses the current government for failure to improve and the infrastructure, with the notable example being Harare Bight Bridge Road. Brian says, is it the poor state of the roads or the hangover of farm invasions which left roads vulnerable to cattle? And of course, we have John, who says, sure, poor roads is the major problem in Zimbabwe, and some drivers think they are the only people to use those roads. So John is also saying that some drivers are also contributed to this carnage. Gibbs.
On Facebook, we've got Tendai, who says, I think the government should act on the poor state of the roads. And he says, I wish a speedy recovery to Mr. Love Momoyo, who is the chairman of the MTCT. I think you know that Mr. Moyo was involved in a car accident. Yes. So he's recovering right now at Maratei Hospital. Then we've got Brian, who writes, hitting a cow on the road has nothing to do with the poor state of roads, but your speed, vision, and attentiveness. Please do not speed on the roads. Then we've got Oliver, who writes, very poor roads, and that is the cause of many accidents. Then we've got Makwena or Mukena, who writes, it is wrong to view the state of the roads only after politicians are involved in accidents. The lives of those many ordinary people who have died in motor accidents are also important. Then we've got Brian, who writes, our government has neglected to repair our roads. They are only concerned with keeping power and stealing the country's resources and funds. So then he further says, please, can you act on this? Then I've got Mr. Nyoni, Chamnora Nyoni, who writes, where is the money collected from toll gates going? Since 2009 up to now, not even a kilometer has been repaired along the road that I use daily.
Indeed, of course, we did ask Mr. Mpofu about the use of those toll fees. And we'll play that tape in the second part of the interviews. But he is admitting that he is trying to ensure that there are no loopholes and the money is used for upgrading the infrastructure. Tinemwe mtereri kudzi makadi mkoma kudzi.
Simba makadiyo mkoma blessing.
Aiwa isu tiri nani edu zvemutowa kumwe wakaoma kumwe munyoro. Muri kuona sei mamiriro akaita migwagwa mkoma kudzi?
Nauye mugwagwa iyi vanhu vakaignore kwenguva yakareba. Chinoitika ndechekuti vanhu vaakuzviona iye zvino nekuti pane vakuru vapinda mumatsaona iwayo. Nzira dzakabvirira kare dzakashata ende dziri kuurayisa vanhu vakawanda. Mugwagwa iyi inotoda kuupgradwa ende maupgradero anoda kuitwa inoda kuti vanhu vese inotoda kuti government chaiyo ipindire panhau iyo kwete kuti vaignore zvavari kuita iye zvino havasati vatanga kutarisa nenhau yemugwagwa. Mugwagwa yakafa ende mawandiro aita motikari muHarare, mawandiro aita motikari muZimbabwe, nenzira netype of roads dzatinadzo hazvienderani. The roads ari muZimbabwe it's like a one way, but mota dzakawandisa dzingambokwanise kuti dzipanane machances ekufamba muroad, and mapotholes ari muroad akawandisa, mafence along the roads hamuna. So roads inofanira kugadzirwa zvakasiyema and dzotoda serious yekuti vanhu vagadzirise maroads, because tikada kutarisa zvakare mari dzinotorwa pamatogeti atione kushanda kwadzo. Road dzichiri dzakangofa, vanhu varongosiya dzakadaro road. Atiziva kuti I think hapana kana kuti government haisi kutomboona nezvekugadzira maroad, haisi kutombobata side iroro. Tikada kutarisa kuti matsaona anoitika muBeatrice kubva muHarare kusvika muBeatrice, pane matsaona akawanda kwazvo anoitika muroad iyo, but vanhu havazvitarise. Vatanga kuzvitarisa neiye zvino kuti chairman weMDC enda mutsaona asi road dzakabvira kudare dzakafa.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru mukoma Kudzi.
Tinotenda blessing.
Of course, Kudzi is concerned that normally, everyone's attention on the roads. I mean, people are usually not talking about what will be happening on the roads when ordinary people are dying, but when something happens to a high-profile person, like in this case, these senior opposition officials, everyone wants to talk about the state of the roads, but he's saying things are not okay. Things are not okay. The government must actually ensure that they are investing in infrastructure development.
And I think those are the same sentiments that were echoed by Mokwena Daniels. He was saying, why focus on the roads now when people are dying on a occasional basis? So he wasn't happy about what the focus was all about.
Indeed, unfortunately for our radio listeners, we end it here. But of course, we are streaming live. So go to www.voazimbabwe.com. Tine mwemtereri ngwani.
Mnumzana Patrick ubambe konapo ngaika chana siya kuti simbuye kuwe. Ube patient pichani.
Vanari na vache bundo rambai zvenyu muri paronari tiriku dzoka kwa muri. Of course, this is a Blessing Zulu.
And Kips Jube saying, stay tuned.
For those of you who are just joining us, good evening. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the state of the country's roads. Many Zimbabweans are complaining that thousands and thousands of lives are being lost because of the poor road network, and also some are concerned that the poor state of the roads is not good for business, because investors want an efficient transport network. This is a cause for concern. But of course, we also reached the transport minister, who said he is doing everything in his power to ensure that Zimbabwe has modern roads, so to speak. Gibbs.
If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again is 001-202-619-2077. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp, and our number is 1-202-465-0318. 001-202-465-0318. Or you can actually watch your screens right now. Get that number and send us a message. Lapha ke sinomnumzana uPatrick ose South Africa. Baba Patrick, ungawutshona njani?
Hayi siyatshona Mthembu, linjani baba khona ngapha eAmerica?
Asiphile kakhulu, kunjani khona ngapha?
Hayi ikho kuyanetha nje.
Ye, kunjalo ke ungathini ke ngomumo wemigwaqo kwele Zimbabwe?
Hayi imigwaqo sibili nxa kukhulunywa iqiniso nyezwa nje umphofu uyakhuluma, hayi lapho yikuvala abantu amehlo. Into yawonalo nje umnyaka kumbe lami engibone ialpha yonale through kuma preparation yama toll gate. Okungaba nje sokufana lokuthi yikuvala amehlo njengoba ngisitsho ngesindebele. Akulanto total ungakhangela iluveve la, I'm sure it's almost 6 months ile repair bese kungamabhodi esabekayo kwampani uzuyengena eCamp amakhumbe chama bumper kusesabeka. Khamu kunkayi road laphana uzabona ukuthi imoto ayikwanisi even lokuphambana leyinye, ufile inje busy road ethutha abantu bakukhangele the Minister of Road, Minister of Transport. Khamu kumvuma yona lenzakala i-accident ukuthi njani. Uya kuMaswingo Road is a busy road from Beitbridge turning to kunjanji leyana eyabamba i-turn off yeMaswingo and Shabane ucross ungena iChirugwe. Ukhangela ukuthi kufe njani. Come to kuGogwe Road and Kwekwe ubone ukuthi isimo esinjani, umbuya kabuhambe. Come to kuma-town kubo Harare njengoba usizwa bekhuluma. Ubuye surrounding kuBulawayo laphana usiya kuboChabalala. So ngiba lesimanga nje bala ukuthi kukhona okwenzakalayo. Yethu ungakhangela imali yama transport, imali yezimota ezeministra, imali yama toll gate. Kakulanto enziwayo lapha. Okwabo nje sebevala amehlo ngakhona okobe kusanda ukukhulunywa ngulundoda ukuthi wachekwa sokubonakala ukuthi ilizwe leliyana liminjani. Okungathi ungalikhangela nxa kusiya even la kubo railways ngale uyathi eZimbabwe since ihendwa ngabelungu umbuso kaMgabu ngathi abantu bahle bathutha iZimbabwe bayichiya akusela abantu solulunxiwa.
Hayi siyakuzwa ke siyakuzwa kakhulu baba.
Ugcina Mthembo nxa ngisitsho ukuthi bangathathi nje abantu kabi ngoba lamhla sebekubona ngoba sokwenzakala into enje. Ungacabanga kule zupho ebhewuke isuka le eMalawi. Izupho liyana kwabalisa ukuthi yayizama ukuthi ya overtake yachaya igodi ngoba umgwaqo uko correct kwaphela abantu. Was not a problem of the driver, umgwaqo.
Hayi siyakuzwa kakhulu ke Mdawini.
Enzama ukukubeka kule 6 million ezwakala ukuthi yadisappear ama toll gate yaya ngaphi.
Hayi usuwafakile sibili amaningi, sizwile kakhulu Sibanda. Sibonge kakhulu, ubuye la kusasa phela. Buye la kusasa Mdawini.
Kakhulu Mthembu.
Sibongile kakhulu baba. So what Mr. Patrick is saying is that Mpofu can say whatever he wants, but the state of the roads is very, very poor. If you go to the Mvuma Chivu Road, where Mr. Moyo had an accident and with the other fellows. So he says, it's so poor that you cannot even overtake along that kind of stretch. He even says the Pirate Bridge Harare Road is very poor. Even if you go to urban areas, it's the same story.
Yeah.
And where is the money, going to from toll gates? So he cites that kind of report that $6 million went missing, for toll gates. So, I mean, maybe Mr. Chebundo can tell us, during his time, when this thing happened.
Mr. Chebundo?
Yes, sir.
Yes. People are concerned about what they are alleging to be the misuse of some of the funds, say, from toll gates. Is there proper accountability, or what needs to be done?
Yeah, I would say during my time, initially, remember I was the chairperson of the Transport Committee for the 5-year period that ended in 2013. At the beginning of that term, we were also seized with the challenges of ensuring the accountability of these monies, and we carried out some checks as a parliamentary committee. And as we progressed with that term, we came to the understanding that the monies were being used somewhat, properly, because we investigated the bank accounts, and we went on to the ground field visits to check on our own. But I'm concerned of late, the Permanent Secretary for Transport, when he was brought before the current Parliamentary Portfolio Committee for Transport, he acknowledged that the funds from the toll gates were being diverted to the salaries bureau to pay for the civil servants, and that alone is an indicative that the monies, in my view, are not being put for the purpose for which they are being generated. And yes, I do agree, and I concur with those who are raising concern that the monies are not being really used for the purpose for which they are being generated. And that is a cause for concern for all the citizens of Zimbabwe that are paying for the toll gates.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chebundo. Chebundo vari kuti ichokwadi mari dziri kutorwa dzinofanira kunyatsoonekwa kuti dzashandiswa zvadzinofanira kunge dzichishandiswa, kwete kuti dzinombonzi dzaenda kunobhadhara mihoro yevashandi vehurumende. Gibbs.
Utsho njalo-ke umnumzana Chebundo esilayi lapha ngumnumzana Blessing Chebundo wayekhona ngale-ke edala lephalamende ukukhangela ngezemigwaqo, uthi imali yena le yokuthiwa ngama-toll gates kumele isetshenziswe ngendlela efaneleyo, kodwa-ke uthi okwakhathesa kukhanyela ukuthi yangaphi kungani kuyahluphahlupha. Yes, lo mnumzana-ke uKillion Bhebhe ukhona ngale-ke kwele South Africa. Baba Bhebhe, utshona njani?
Siyatshona, kunjani baba?
Ngiphile kakhulu Bhebhe, kunjani lapho khona?
Hayi, kuyaneta kancane.
So-ke nathi uDabo ngathini ba?
Hayi, mina bengifuna ukubuza ubaba uMpofu lapho njengo-Minister of Transport. Nabo bonke nje abaphetheyo lapho ukuthi since independence umgwaqo wenkayi ulokhe unjengobunjalo bake bawuzama from 1996 kuze kube namhlanje uphelela eTech Mine. Kuyini asebekwenzile from 1980 ngawo okubehlula ukuthi bawenze kuze kube namhlanje kuyini? How many years from 1980? Ama-toll gate esiwabonayo abathi angenisa imali yokulungisa imigwaqo, asitsho ukuthi enkayi thina kasinayo imali yokubhadala ama-toll gate. Why benganayo i-toll gate ukuze sikwazi ukukhuluma nathi sithi sine-toll gate enkayi lungisani umgwaqo wethu? Why bangafaki i-toll gate enkayi mabe sithi kabanayo imali? Kusho ukuthi abantu benkayi bona akusibantu abanemali abangakwazi ukubhadala. Why i-development enkayi ingekho? Izazibe khona nini sehlula imigwaqo yenkayi? Umgwaqo wekhwekhwe thunkayi wasetshenzwa nawo around 1996 kuze kube namhlanje awuzange ube complete. umpofu njengomuntu wemathebeleland esimazi eku government from 1980 wenzeni enkayi emathebeleleni kubo siyabezwa lokho bekhuluma ama ministers besenza ama meetings khona le Harare besenza ama meetings eMtare besenza ama meetings kuphi kanti iZimbabwe ngiyaseMtare neHarare neMasvingo kuphela na iZimbabwe ayikho yini enkayi abantu benkayi kanti libathembisani liyi-government from 1980 benzani
manje Pepe
okubi lokho kwenziwa ngabantu benkayi kuyini igovernment engabaxoleli khona kanti
siyakuzwa
umpofu akasiphendule if ngingakhumbula kahle kuno-chief Sivalo oshonileyo umpofu I think ube khona emngcwabeni wakhe uzibonele ukuthi umgwaqo unjani wenzeni ngemva kwalokho ukhona yini akwenzayo ngemva kwakhe kunebhasi eliwele bridge negwelu la limaza abantu basesibhedlela enkayi kumanje iministry ye transport wenzeni ngabantu abasesibhedlela enkayi abanida ama wheelchairs khuluma kunje ibhasi liwele kugwelu emfuleni wenzani ngakho
hayi siyakuzwa ke mnumzana Bhebhe sibongile kakhulu uphenduke futhi phela sibe sixoxaxoxanini ngensuku zonke lapha
libe lisikhumbula sikhulume ngoba lisikhohliwe lapha enkayi singabantu abalahlekileyo igovernment asizwa siyazi asazi ukuthi benzani babelokhe bekhuluma ngezimali kanti izimali ibudget zakhona zizoze zisebenze nini ekade zabudgetwa iminyaka leminyaka ziyaphi
siyakuzwa mnumzana Bhebhe sithi sihlangana la futhi kusasa sizwile kakhulu sizakhuluma labo ompofu sizothi bathini
Okay.
So in brief, he says, you know, Mr.
Mkai has been forgotten, and
Totally.
it appears Harare is Mamba Zonke.
Yes. So now I think starting tomorrow, you'll be on the Ndebele side.
Oh yes.
And
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But first of all, you have to pronounce one word correctly. Ingxabangxoza.
Ingxabangxoza.
Oh my goodness. Almost there, but 9 out of 22. So
Manyama Mirelero.
so what Mr. Killian Pepe is saying is that you know, Kai has been forgotten, as you put it correctly. And where has it been since 1980? When the Nkai Road was under construction, they started, upgrading that road in 1980. I still remember at one stage when the former governor, Welshman Mabena, said they only constructed 1 kilometer in 6 years. And it was almost abandoned. And he was a very angry man. And so he also says, you know what? Mr. Mpofu actually attended the recent funeral of Chief Sivalo. And he saw what's wrong with that road. Why didn't he attend to it? And then thirdly, he said, if ever there's a problem with the Nkai Road, why not put toll gates so that they can speak with a solid voice? So, okay, we've got toll gates, so why are you guys not taking care of us? So he's really unhappy. And the Kwekwe Nkai Road too, he says they started constructing it or upgrading it in 1996.
Wow.
Up to now, just a little bit has been done. So Mr. Pepe is not happy at all.
Let's read some more messages on WhatsApp. We have Ezekiel who says that's true. Our roads are too narrow and it's very difficult to overtake. And then there's D who says though the roads are bad, the drivers are also to blame for the accidents because it seems when they are traveling, they will be speeding, especially at night. It's better to be late than to be delayed. Drivers, let's be cautious on these roads. And then we have Vindlov who says roads in Zimbabwe, especially in Matabeleland, are pathetic. Take, for example, the Bulawayo Nkai Road, Lupane Nkai Road, Kezi Bulawayo Road. Despite many accidents that occur almost on a daily basis, there is no political will and commitment for road construction. Stephen says, Tirukubadara mari zema toll gates, zirikuenda kupi. And then we have Uwit, who says, truly, all roads are in a poor state, especially Chivi, Mandababwe, Chacha Road. It's really in a poor state. Kezia says, Chokwadi nzira zedu zakafa. So that's why there are many accidents every day. asi hurumende ichingoona. Romeo says the status or the state of the road is really bad. Mr. Mpofu is busy collecting huge sums of money on toll gates. We wonder where that money is going. Gibbs.
Ye mbona zani silokhola ke uDumisani. Mbona nulayi lapho uDumisani.
Mkoma Dumisani makadi. Mkoma Dumisani?
What simzama ngesintu. Baba Dumisani kunjani?
Mkoma Dumisani? Tichaedza kuvafonera Mkoma Dumisani. But I think we also have that second part of our interview with Transport Minister Obet Mpofu. Of course, many people, like in the first half of the show and even now, were complaining about the state of the Mashingo Harare road, or rather Bight Bridge to Harare road. They are saying many people have died along that highway. And I did ask Mr. Mpofu about attempts by the government to fix that road. And let's take a listen to his response, Gibbs.
Yes, we have plans. In fact, that should have been started a long time ago. But we have had some people who thought they had the right to do that, and they took us to court. And the matter is before our legal system. Hence the delay. We should have started a long time. We have got people killed for that particular project because it is one of the busiest roads in the country. But with the adjustments in tolling, which I actually introduced a few months ago, we feel the government can actually work on that road on its own without really having to worry about investors. But again, we are appealing for cooperation from our motoring public to be part of this development. You see, our roads are in bad state, but I want to improve these roads with the support of our motoring public. I mean, these are realities on the ground. The state of our roads is such that the accidents are not reducing. People are being killed, and the animals are actually doing as they please into and outside our road systems. So all these things need a bit of funding, which funding will ensure that we sense the roads. We also create an environment that allows people to travel on safe, upgraded roads.
Lastly, Zimbabweans are concerned about the use of the fees collected from the toll gates. And of course, some think that they are actually the magic bullet. Every problem that Zimbabwe has to do with the infrastructure will be solved by the toll gates. Would you say they are enough? And how is the money being used?
No, they are not enough. And I also agree with those that are concerned about the usage of the money collected from toll gates. But we have invited, the public to, monitor and scrutinize the disbursements of these funds. And I've actually said this in Parliament, and I'm saying this to the general public to actually ensure that these funds are put to what they were collected to do. We want these funds to be dedicated, as they are dedicated, to the construction of our infrastructure.
Of course, that was Transport Minister, Dr. Obet Mpofu, talking about the Bight Bridge, Harare Road, and also the use of the toll gates. Very controversial. Many people saying, they are concerned, but he's saying that he will ensure that the money is used for the transport system to upgrade the roads and infrastructure. Gibbs.
Mr. Tabagnare, what's your reaction to that? How is it going to ensure that the money is used properly?
I think, Gibbs, we go back to the same contribution I made earlier. That, the Mutare the Plumtree Mutare Road, I think the last I heard, the cost was like $218 million US, which was advanced by this bank from South Africa. Now, what it means is we have to know that $218 million. The question is, how much are we collecting per month on that road? So if it's $2 million, in a year you've got 12 months, that means you've collected $24 million, which means you will need to pay that over 10 years. So when people are clear about the costs of road construction and how long it will take, then I think that helps, you know. Otherwise, people will keep on saying that the monies are being misused. But we also obviously need to know how much is being collected, what is being used to service the loan, what is being used also to help rehabilitate roads in the rural districts. So I think for me, that sort of thinking, yeah.
Mr. Chebundo, some governments do what is called BOT, or build, operate and transfer. Why is it not happening in Zimbabwe, where a private company can come in and collect toll fees until whatever amount they would have used to construct the road is recouped?
No,
I think that is related to
concept, I think it has been on the cards of government for some time. One wonders why they are not taking it up. But I want to believe that one contributing factor is that the would-be investors, sometimes they are put off by lack of confidence on what is going on in the country regarding our policies and our consistency with some of the agreements that we have made in the past. So I think that is the scary aspect in my view, but that issue has been on the cards. I remember when we engaged as a parliamentary committee, the previous minister responsible for transport, he actually talked about that, and they said they were actually, spreading their tentacles to get the would-be investors and the FDT under those concepts of BOT. But I'm not sure currently whether they are still pursuing that. But I also wanted Blessing to contribute to the issue of the money that are being generated by toll gates. And just to advance and say that it's not only the toll gates that we are generating money for maintenance of the roads from. Remember, there is a fuel levy as well. There is transit levy for the motorists that will be, passing through Zimbabwe. There are quite a number of other levies that are being, collected specifically for the maintenance of roads. And the total sum is that we need to see all these monies being put to the use of maintaining the roads themselves. Even if we were to go along the arrangements of the G5, the industrial company between G5 and Znara, the 206 million, 280 million that my colleague panelist has just mentioned, we can still do the same with that arrangement with the other trunk roads, and the priority being given to the Harare Beit Bridge, Harare Chirindi Road, which is the hub of our economy when it comes to transport. That road itself needs to have been given priority ahead of any other trunk, in my view. And then lastly, when we talk about the other roads, the gravel, the country roads, remember the arrangement that was there in Zimbabwe was that of categorizing the road agents into the Ministry of Roads Department itself, the Engineering Department, and then the other agents were the rural and the urban councils, who will be given the portion of money from the vehicle licensing to annually maintain each and every road in their jurisdiction area. And this is what is not happening now. And because we have lumped everything together, we have centralized everything, we end up with those problems which we will not be able to overcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chibundo. Gibbs.
Yeah, masasikangeleke baba khonapho nare. Ngokutsho kwakho lapha nte kumele kube lokho kuthiwa infrastructure master plan. Kodwa ngubani oqalisa phela ukuthi kwenzakala?
Infrastructure master plan, I think iqalisa ezabelweni ukuthi isabelo ngesabelo kumele sibe lombono waso ukuthi khangelela ukuthi sisakhe lokhu lalokho. Sisuke lapho kube le province antsho i-constitution entshi le-devolution. I-province layo itsho ukuthi imigwaqo ekuprovince yakithi esemathebeleni esema-south esema-north emigrants la ngaphi langaphi imigwaqo yethu yile. So i-devolution yona lena iyanceda ukuthi zakho nxa kusenzeka ezinye izinto lezi kazenziwe ingatsha zikahulumende ezikuma-province.
Yes, ubambe khona lapho ngayikatshana. So you are saying that provinces should actually kickstart a master plan that is an infrastructure master plan. So it starts from there, then it goes further to urban areas.
Tine mumwe muteereri wedu anenge atigarei parunhare. Mukomanyasha makadii? Aiwa, tiripo Mukomanyasha. Muri kuona sei mamiriro akaita migwagwa? Mukomanyasha vaita flu here kana kuti? Oh, iredio. Right, dzorai radio yenyu kuti tinzwanane. Okay, saka muri kuti zvinhu zvakamira sei munyaya dzemugwagwa? Mukomanyasha, hatisi kunyatsonzwanana. Hamusi paspeakerphone handiti? Fambai kana kuti muchibva pamuri ipapo nekuti hatisi kunyatsonzwanana. Okay, taurai tinzwa. Poitwa sei? Aiwa, tinotenda Mukomanyasha, ungoti nhare yenyu yanga isiri kunyatsonzwika zvakanaka, asi ndine ndanzwa zvamuri kutaura kuti nyaya dzecorruption ndo dzakupa kuti zvinhu zvisanyatsomire zvakanaka mumugwagwa, asi tinotenda zvikuru. Tinotenda zvikuru. Of course, there seem to be a technical problem, yes, but he's saying that corruption is one issue that has contributed to the sorry state of the roads in Zimbabwe.
Mr. Chibondo, your reaction to that? Corruption and the state of roads.
Corruption is something that no one can actually contradict. The truth is that we do have corruption in Zimbabwe, and it's really known. And even those that are driving the government have acknowledged. Remember, some 6 months ago, the talk in parliament, the talk in government was about corruption. And the honorable vice president, remember the issue that surrounded her about corruption and trying to sort of stifle the debate. Yes, corruption is actually affecting many of our projects as a country, and that needs to be needed. The government needs to take it serious to stem out corruption. And the state of roads, like we have already said earlier on, you see, if you were to compare the last term of government and the current, the graph of government was going up a bit in terms of the progress being made in the infrastructure development. But now it's not diving, and the government should actually be put through its paces because of that challenge. Why are we going down when we're going up? Is it because the inclusive government was more stronger and the people who had their eyes and their focus on development, and now we don't have anyone who has that kind of a gift to take things up for the better of the country and the people? That's a challenge for the present-day government.
A law of diminishing returns. Mr. Anare, your final word.
Yes, I think we clearly need to work on that vision for infrastructure development and to open up the system in terms of, we've heard about the mega deals from China, but there are also, like in the region, people in South Africa, in other areas who can help us improve our roads and our rail. So, and also maybe come with a bit of finance like the DPA say have come in. But obviously the issue of corruption is also very important. So we ask our priests and our church leaders to pray, but also to warn the politicians and the civil servants and ordinary Zimbabweans. These people go to their churches, so they should tell them to shun corruption.
Thank you.
We say we are a Christian nation,
Thank
but we
you,
should see
Mr.
that in the deeds.
Thank you, Mr. Nare. And on that note, the need for divine intervention, we end this program, and we want to thank you, Mr. Tavang Nare, a social commentator, and also former Transport Committee Chairperson in Parliament, Mr. Blessing Chebundo. And we want to thank our team behind the scenes, our producers and engineers, and all those who wrote to us and called us. This is yours truly, Blessing Zulu.
And Kips Dube. Good night.